Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Hope you had a great weekend, a restful weekend. There were congresses, as you know, up and down the land, and so Saturday was what it was, depending on where you happen to be in the country. But enough of that. Our guest this morning is Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information and Culture. I'll say a good morning to you, Lai.
Mr. Yori Folarin, good morning after a long time.
Okay, you took the words out of my mouth. It's been quite a while, indeed. Well, Lai Mohammed is here this morning because we want to talk about the security situation. It's a topic that we frequently address on the program, and we wanted the minister's impression on it, and the minister has been quite busy. Federal government, so to speak, has been quite active on the matter, and it is the considered view of the minister that the security situation in the north, especially where it is most, shall we say, troublesome, is much improved. So, Lai Mohammed, once again, welcome to the program. The security situation has been worrying. You know that, must have heard. We have program after program about the matter. You say it is much improved, especially when you compare it with 2015 when we came around. Could you take it from there? Because a lot of people, maybe they're doubting Thomases, maybe they are not in the locations where they are seeing any brutality. They continue to see newspaper reports and say the situation is still dire.
Mr. Folarin, there's no doubt that the situation is much improved. Even if we look at what it was in 2015, what it is today. 2015, we had Boko Haram. Largely was the major problem we were facing. But when we came in 2015, Boko Haram was very active in most parts of the northeastern states. I'm talking about Adamawa, I'm talking about Yobe, talking about Borno. And Bauchi was not spared, neither was going to be spared. But today, and I remember very well that 2015, Borno State in particular, almost about 13 out of the 20 local governments were under the effective occupation of Boko Haram. Today, we can say very, emphatically that we've dislodged them in every local government, in Borno State. Yes, they operate from the fringes of the Lake Chad and from some border areas, but clearly it is not the same as what it was in 2015. I know that recently there have been a lot of misinformation, misrepresentation about the level of insecurity, especially about the way the federal government is handling terrorists and handling bandits and the like. The people, some commentators have the belief that the federal government is softer on bandits than terrorists in the northwestern and northeastern part of the country than they are on the separatist movements in the southeast and criminals in the southwest. Frankly speaking, this is not only a fallacy; it's a combination of misinformation and fake news all rolled into one. The federal government's handling of security, whether they are bandits or terrorism, I think is commendable, and they do not make any distinction between terrorists and bandits. Mr. Folarin, a few weeks ago, I was in Katsina State on a fact-checking tour, and I went with about 20 journalists from both the private and the public media, with the governor of, it was a kind of town hall meeting in his own, because we had the governor of Katsina State, we had the emirs of Daura and the emirs of Katsina, we had district heads, we had security agents, we had members of the Professional Council, we had members of the Katsina State Executive Council and CSOs, and there we discussed the issue of banditry. And one of the things the governors told us was, look, what is happening in the Northwest and part of North Central in terms of banditry is nothing but criminality, sheer criminality. And that this criminality has no religious, no ideological, or no ethnic basis. It's pure criminality. And he went further to say that what people don't understand is that between the forests of Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kaduna, and part of Niger State, that there are over 150 bandit camps, each with his own leader, independent of one another. And they operate independently. So when people talk about bandits, they don't really have an idea of what bandits are or how they operate. If you have about 150 camps,
separate,
independent, each of them operating independently, you begin to appreciate what the concept, what really is called banditry.
Alhaji, you spoke about banditry, and terrorism in relation to nomenclature. Then IPOB, you also brought them into the matter. Which category, so to speak, if one can call it that, is it the federal government's attitude that IPOB is, and how does it differ? Because, as you know, there have been people who have been saying that, as far as they can see from their own prism, the ground is not level. Why isn't everybody, seen as the same?
Well, I think it's a bit. We have to be very careful in how we. How we use nomenclature. Why would some people be described as terrorists and others as bandits or criminals? It is because number one, if you talk about IPOB is prescribed.
Prescribed, yes.
So to start with, and by law they've been declared as terrorists.
Okay.
So also is Boko Haram. They are terrorists. Now, the difference between IPOB, Boko Haram on the one side, and bandits is that while both Boko Haram and IPOB are driven either by ideology or driven by a belief in that they don't want to be part of Nigeria. They have their own flags. They hoist their own flags. Bandits have no flags. Bandits are simple criminals. There's no difference between bandits and other types of criminals, except in terms of their ferocity. So this is the problem. This is the issue about nomenclature. When you declare somebody terrorist or just criminals, terrorists have political connotation, because when a person or a group says would not believe in the sovereignty of Nigeria, the bandits have never said they don't believe in the sovereignty of Nigeria. They are just pure criminals. And when you look at the history of banditry in Nigeria, it dates back to 1891. So it's not something that we have been managing over time.
Although it sort of flared up in recent times, because for decades we knew that they were burglars. In fact, we didn't go as far as bandits, even as you are now saying historically, it goes back before 1900.
No, you see what about burglars? Burglars are everywhere in the world, in every part of the country. From burglars, they became, armed robbers. From armed robbers, they became something else. So, but you see, let's understand, strictly speaking, what banditry is and what Boko Haram is and what IPOB is. I mean, there are three different concepts, and they operate differently also. Their modus operandi, are different. Now, take for instance the issue of going back to the bandits. Like I said, banditry is not new in Nigeria. It started in 1891, and the first recorded robbery or heist of bandits was in 1911, when they stole about 165,000 pounds dead. So you can imagine what it is. What banditry is. But the good news is that when we met with the Katsina State government, was able to explain to us the measures being taken, not just by Katsina State government, but also by governments in the Northwest to contain and address the issue of banditry, which, according to him, are working. First, I think one of the first things they did in Katsina and in most part of Northwest is that they've restricted and disrupted telecommunication services. The next thing they did was that they restricted sale of petrol, PMS, to maximum of 5,000 naira per person. Then they abolished, the sale, outlawed the sale of second-hand motorcycles. In addition, they closed or suspended certain markets. And for the first time, there now seems to be synergy between all the northwestern states and part of North Central in tackling banditry. And I remember when we were with the governor of Katsina, he also informed us that the northwestern states that are mostly affected by banditry are working together to engage and employ about 3,000 armed volunteers who will now complement the efforts of the of security in the areas. And when we asked him what are the results of these measures, he said they are working very well. He said, for instance, with the disruption of the telecom services, now it's now difficult for informants and kidnappers and bandits, to interact.
It's also difficult for people to call for help.
Oh no, yes, but you don't forget that these services are disrupted in only certain local governments, not in the whole of Katsina State or the whole of Zamfara State. But I think people would rather suffer some inconvenience rather than give the kidnappers or the bandits a field day. Now, but the important thing is that with the disruption of these telecom services, it's no longer easy for bandits to communicate with their informants. Not that alone, even when they now succeed in kidnapping anybody, they cannot ask for ransom easily because they need telephones. And then with the restriction on the sale of petroleum, of petrol, then they cannot move as freely as they used to move in the forest. Now, with the abolition of what we call the junction motor parks, we've again further reduced the activities of bandits. And of course, because we have banned the sale of second motorcycles. Motorcycles are what they use normally to attack. They come in hundreds. So these measures are working. And according to the governor of Katsina State, he said they are winning the war against banditry.
Thank you, sir. We're talking about security generally, and from a federal government perspective. Whereas you say it's much improved in the north, and you've cited reasons why people can cross-check this is the way it is. When we go to the security situation in the southeast, especially in recent time, and we've spoken about the proscribed IPOB, there's also the Eastern Security Network, and it's been a terrible time in recent times, so much so that there was some federal comment on it via the Attorney General saying that the federal government was looking at, they were not taking any option off the table, and caused something of a furore when he said that if need be, a state of emergency was not out of the question. The question is, it is part of Nigeria. The Southeast is part of Nigeria, and with the degrading of security, in that place, there are those who are saying, why has the federal government not come into it, rather than the matter of the state of emergency that was hinted at by the Attorney General? Why has the federal government not come into it? Why do they, what would be their attitude to the continual burning of police stations, killing of people, maiming of people, ordering people to stay at home, in short, constituting themselves the rogue elements in the area into an alternative form of government. Even asking for the flag to be, isn't that terrorism if people are so scared that then they're obeying an alternative arm of government?
You see, Mr. Folarin, I was actually at the press conference at which the Attorney General spoke at length on the situation in the Southeast. And regrettably, people are not quoting him correctly.
Okay.
He said, and I remember, that when you continue to attack the symbols of authority, the symbols of sovereignty, it poses a great problem to a country. When you target courts, correctional centers, police stations, the military, these are the symbols of sovereignty, symbols of authority. When you continue to single them out for attack, you are attacking the pillars of democracy. And that if it does not stop, the federal government will not hesitate in declaring state of emergency. In particular, he said that elections, as and when due, is an important pillar of democracy. If these activities continue and people cannot hold elections, do they even know what the consequences will be if elections are not held in Anambra State? That it would create constitutional crisis of unimaginable, magnitude. And that is the context in which we should understand what Attorney General is saying. But I've heard comments say that, why are they not declaring some emergency?
Yes.
In Borno State? Borno State has no election to start with. It's coming. And in Borno State, what is happening is Boko Haram, which is terrorism, and the government is dealing with it. In the Northwest is banditry, which has no political, motivation whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So
couldn't we continue that line of thought and say, in the Southeast, there's the ESN, not to mention the proscribed IPOB.
Yes. So what we're saying is that you see,
wreaking havoc. Why is the government?
It's the ESN, IPOB together that are accused of attacking symbols of authority. And in any event, IPOB has not, hidden its own position as to whether it will recognize Nigeria as a country or not. They don't even recognize our sovereignty. That's the problem with IPOB. So it's a different ball game, with the unrest in other parts of the country.
And so is the federal government then leaving them to their own devices?
No. Yeah, even as recently as about 2 weeks ago, I know that the military has also rolled out another operation to ensure that people are free to go about their businesses as they want in the Southeast. But unfortunately, what the Attorney General was hinting at was that if there's going to be any possibility of elections not holding, the federal government will not tolerate that.
Okay.
And if it means declaring a state of emergency, they will so do. But of course, in Nigeria, things are read, are interpreted along, prisms of where you belong to. Are you a Christian? Are you a Muslim? Are you from the South? Are you from the North?
So even though the Attorney Generals did say what he said, it's not the same as announcing that the federal government is considering declaring a state of emergency.
No, like I said, I was at that press conference. It said the federal government will not hesitate to so do if, for instance, the activities will make it impossible to have elections, because elections are a very important part of democracy.
Indeed.
Yes.
And so the federal government probably is keeping a close eye on happenings.
The government is very concerned and very worried, because you see, the implication of election not holding in one state. You can imagine it was because of the fact that electoral election tribunals, didn't give, judgment, at the same time. That is why we still have this staggered, elections everywhere in the country today. After all, in 1999, elections held, I think, everywhere at the same time. It was the consequence of somebody going to court and then the election not holding that truncated the tenure of one governor and then another one started. It's kind of it's a real issue. And going back to the issue of security,
sure.
of course, again, you see in the Northeast, like I said, the Northeast is quite different. We're battling with Boko Haram for quite a while in the Northeast. But today the story is different in the Northeast. I was in Maiduguri about 3 weeks ago, on town hall meeting with the governor, and the governor confirmed that, Boko Haram terrorists are actually surrendering in droves. And that is because of the heightened, impact and the heightened attack and the ferocious attack from the military.
Did you also get the impressions of emirs and traditional rulers over there? Because you spoke about security, police, community concerned stakeholders. Surely the emirs, the traditional rulers, are part of the stakeholders.
Oh, well, at the town hall meeting in Maiduguri, just like in Katsina, we had traditional rulers from every part of Borno State there, and of course they are doing their own bit as the custodians of the tradition and as the people nearest, the authorities nearest the people, to ensure that the terrorists are not given any leeway. In particular, we went to Maiduguri to discuss the issue of vandalization of telecoms and power infrastructure. And the tribal rulers are really very effective and very helpful in this manner. And of course, the fact that the military has acquired new platforms.
Okay.
Is now helping matters. All the 12.
I was going to go there. Yeah.
Oh yes, all the 12. All the 12 Tucano.
All of them are now
all
here.
Of them are now in.
And we heard that 10 of 12 have arrived.
As of this morning, all the 12 are here.
Okay.
And they have been deployed to the northeast, and that you can see that these Tucano, super Tucanos are actually game changers. Most of the success we have recorded in recent times is because of this acquisition of new platforms, not limited to Super Tucano, of course. And that was why I was amused yesterday when there was this story that the Air Force paid 20 million naira to bribe bandits from bringing down the president's aircraft. And I said, of course, fortunately, the Air Force immediately debunked it, because those who peddle this kind of stories, it exposes their ignorance. I've just explained now that between Zamfara, Katsina, part of Kaduna and Niger states, there were 150 bandit camps. So who was the money given to? It doesn't make sense, you see, but because they don't understand how bandits operate, that's why they can go ahead with this kind of fake news.
In the north especially, and other places too, the incidence of unrest, it affects agriculture, especially in the north, and people have not been able to go to the farm for fear of their life. And as you've just explained, the situation is much improved. It's not going to be an overnight kind of a solution, but we've spoken about food security in relation to disruptions in the agricultural schedule. You're optimistic that that headache has been sufficiently addressed for us to at least start farming seasons and for things to return to normal, because it is escalating the cost of food. Absolutely,
you're correct. And I think if you listen recently or you observe what's happening in Borno State in particular, you can see heightened activities in the agricultural area, and this is because the superior firepower of the military. is now making it possible for people to go to their farms.
Okay.
Here in the Northeast.
Because they're able to keep troublemakers at bay.
At bay. So, and that is why it is important that these successes of the military, be it against bandits or against the terrorists in the, in the Northeast, should be sustained. Because if it's not sustained, then the farmers will not be able to go to farm. And of course, the consequence of that will be less food, and when there's less food, it'll be more expensive.
When you say it should be sustained, I was of the impression that the federal government is going to sustain.
No, it has to be sustained. Okay. It has to be sustained, and we need the cooperation of everybody in sustaining it. That's what I'm saying.
Including local citizens.
Local citizens, yes. I mean, just for a minute, when you talk about bandits, who are the informants? They are citizens.
Okay.
They are the people that give the information to bandits.
Okay, Alhaji, let's take a break now. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. There might be calls, but we still have one or two other matters to ask the minister about. But stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Our guest is Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information and Culture, and we've been looking at the security situation all over the country, as it affects our lives. Talking about that security, the End-SARS protest. Here we are in the season where we're coming to the first anniversary of it. I believe I've heard, notable government officials sort of counseling that maybe they want to look again at the whole matter about holding an anniversary kind of a protest. In as long as they keep it all legal, what would be your impressions and comments on the intention, apparently, of youth organizations to hold an anniversary rally?
I think NEC has already issued a statement that the National Economic Council, which comprises of all governors in the state and some key ministers, and I think they've issued a statement. In that statement, they've appealed to the youth to sheathe their sword, and they've said that, look, everything you've asked for is being looked into, from police reforms to compensation of victims, and that they should not preempt the work of the various, panels of inquiry, that have been working around this subject matter. If I remember very well, I think they said 28 panels have been set up. About 27 of them have, turned in one form of report, interim or the other, and that even Lagos State has promised that by sometimes, the next 1 or 2 weeks, they'll be able to also, turn in their own report. But that basically everything that the End-SARS protesters asked for is being looked into by government. In certain states, compensation has been paid to victims, and that the welfare of the police has been looked into. I think to that extent, I would not want to comment further, because the NEC has issued that statement, and I'm bound by whatever NEC says.
But can I read into what you've just said, that government is being reticent about accommodating any such move, or within the ambits of freedom of association and such rights? One sort of wants to get a feel of, should this protest go ahead, because it was not a direct order, it was a counseling. What would be the thoughts?
Well, Mr. Folarin, you are free to read any many into the plain words of NEC. I've just, repeated what that statement said.
Okay. Something else. Twitter, for instance. Let's look at the microblogging site, Twitter. Federal government took offense and took action, and after that, there have been rapprochements. Twitter was banned. When is the ban? Because I think your very good self, sir, have said in the past that it's not necessarily an absolute and total indefinite ban. So I wanted to ask, how soon can Twitter be back for Nigerians to, engage with?
Thank you, Mr. Folarin. Like you rightly said, we did not ban Twitter. We simply suspended the operations of Twitter in Nigeria. And since then, we've had very useful, respectful, conversations with Twitter. If you recall, during the anniversary celebration, Mr. President said Twitter will return to Nigeria as soon as they meet the conditions, of government. And even last night, the ministerial team on social media, on Twitter, met under my chairmanship, and we reviewed, the position of things. And I want to say that we should please wait for the committee to officially give its report to Mr. President. But things are looking very, very positive and very rosy.
On this Twitter issue, feelers that we are getting is saying that it's been going quite well. There are approachment between the very ministerial committee you spoke about, and the organization, and that most, not all, but most of the issues have been amicably addressed. I wanted to ask, is there a or a few sticking points left to resolve?
Well, you see, we need to actually give a formal report to Mr. President on where we are and where we are making, and make recommendations to Mr. President. And I think that will be better. After that, I will be more disposed to say this is what has been met, this is not what has been met. But you are correct that the talks have gone on very well, and all I can say is that the recommendations we are going to make will not only be applicable to Twitter, but be applicable to all OTT and other social media platforms in Nigeria. See, today the problem has been with Twitter. We don't want it to be with WhatsApp tomorrow, or with Facebook the next day. So our recommendation will be very comprehensive when we make them to Mr. President.
Okay. So we have you here, and your focus has been national as a federal minister. However, you've also been in the news in the past week or so relating to a local affair, the politics, local politics as it were, of Kwara State. We've heard from two groups, that is the AA group, apparently aligned to the governor, and the loyalty group, of which your very good self, sir, you seem to be head of that group. So I wanted to ask, in brief, what exactly is going on within the Kwara APC family?
I'm sure, Mr. Folarin, you do not expect me to use this very important platform where we're discussing serious issues of security to discuss, what I call, probably a local matter. At the appropriate time and appropriate platform, we would respond to that. But I think I want us to please concentrate on the issue of national importance, like the security issues. We'll be discussing like terrorism, like the banditry. This is what I've come to discuss today. But I can assure you, at the fullness of time, we would respond to that.
It's a good assurance for me to take, because alluding to some of the things you said, we must have peace, quiet, political calm in every state of the country. And we've spoken about Anambra, for instance. You say the federal government has had a very keen eye on it. And also in your Kwara, because that's where you're from, there are situations that, for instance, in spite of the APC's stern warnings, there have been parallel congresses and that kind of a thing. I think I can understand that you've said it's a national assignment you're on, but your party in Kwara seems to have thumbed their nose at your party's, admonition to not hold, parallel congresses.
Mr. Folarin, I'm not here to discuss that, but I can assure you, today I won't discuss that, but I can assure you at a different forum.
Yes.
at an appropriate time.
It will be
On a
addressed.
platform, and very soon too, to be addressed.
Okay. Okay. In that case, I think I know my friend very well. When I've tried, I've even done a rapprochement. You've come back again. Let me open up the phone. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Dominic, Reverend Dominic, how are you doing?
Fine, sir. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Honorable Minister, by now you will know I'm a strong supporter of your and Buhari. And I'm making this statement from my heart that concerns me and many of us that support this government. Honorable Minister, have you found out that this government have lost the people in this sense? And when this government make a statement, and maybe this type of Iboho or another person make a statement, Nigerians tend to listen to Iboho more than the federal government. Example, as we are talking here now, you said that we have taken a decisive measure in Southeast. But Imo is in lockdown today. It's lockdown today. Any state is lockdown today. All these states in Southeast is lockdown on Wednesday and Thursday. My sister called me and said we're going to stay at home from Monday to Thursday.
Okay.
He said our IPOP said it. I don't know. He said we're going to sit down from Monday to Thursday, and this is the final. Now, what is the government doing that made them to lose the interest and the confidence of the people? Then the people now become, the separatists make some statements and take it more than the government. Number.
Reverend Dominic, the line was a bit shaky, but I think you went back to the matter of the federal government's attitude, view, reaction to the goings on in the Southeast, especially Anambra. I think the line wasn't as good as it usually is.
Well, I didn't quite get the question, but what I got
I think he implied in there, because he started off by saying that he is a well-known admirer and supporter of this government, even though in recent times he has been nonplussed to some of the actions or inactions.
Unfortunately, when people make comments, they also tend to forget that we run a federal system of government, whereby certain issues are within the exclusive list, certain on the concurrent list. And in the case of what is happening in Anambra State, whether people should go out or should not go out, I would want to appeal to the leaders, the governors, the leaders, the politicians in Anambra State, that they also have a big role to play in this. All the federal government can do is maintain law and order when it breaks down. The federal government cannot go to your house and ask you to go up to the market. But if you are at the market, the federal government will protect you.
Okay.
Yes, and this is why we are worried and concerned about the attacks on the symbols of sovereignty, on the symbols of authority, such as the police, the prisons, the DSS, and the like. So, honestly, Reverend Dominic, I share your anxiety and your pain, but I just wish that everybody can, help the federal government. The federal government is only that much we can do. I think other stakeholders also, the religious leaders, national leaders also have roles to play in this matter.
Tony in the UK. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, morning. My name is Sonny Lenga. I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead. Tony, did we get that right? Is it Tony in the UK?
It's Sonny.
Sonny.
Yeah. Sonny.
Okay. Sonny.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Sonny, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think, Honorable Minister, thank you for coming today. And my question to you is this. Uncle Yori was trying to ask about questions relating to Kwara. And you rightly said that Kwara is not a national interest. That's actually disturbing. You said Kwara is not a national interest. Is that what, I hope I heard you right. That's my first question. And I really want, if you can explain what you mean by that. Because the point the Yori has brought up is about the concern in Kwara State. And you will agree with me, Kwara is one of the constituencies of Nigeria. This is a hot state, and people, that there are lots of issues at the political level, and which is filtering in public in part of Kwara. Those of us who have affiliation with Kwara, we're not happy with that from you. Kwara is not a national interest. And that's my...
Okay, thank you very much for calling in, Sonny, but the minister will say, if he said that it was not a national interest.
Yes, Sonny, what I said I've come here today to discuss issues of national importance, especially security. And I believe that those issues are more important than the personal disagreement between me and the governor. That was exactly what I meant. But that notwithstanding that, at the appropriate time and appropriate forum, I would definitely respond to Mr. Folarin's question. Okay. That was my point.
Okay, because we would be remiss if we didn't ask the question. Only yesterday, the governor, your governor, had put out a lengthy interview in the press, and one was hopeful, although I had a sneaky feeling that the way you answered was the way you might well answer.
I like that, which means I'm very predictable.
You didn't want to, you were here on the national question of security up and down the line.
I read the article, and I also read the response of some people. And like I said, please, this is not this today. I would not be able to discuss that issue because I believe that there's some issues that are more important than the personal differences between me and the governor.
I also take from what you just said, this scant little that you have just said, that it will be well in Kwara, seems to be what you're saying. It will be well in Kwara.
It has to be. It has to be.
Okay. Willie in Lagos. Good morning, Willie.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Quickly go ahead, please.
Okay. Good morning.
Willie, good morning.
Minister of Information.
Thank you, Willie.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that Nigeria has a problem, and the problem can be, surmounted if the following things happen. That if Nigeria can give powers to states, and employment, and the government, the president's employment to people will be equal. And again, now give states the opportunity to have their own security, like police, like police, state police. If all these things are done, I'm very sure Nigeria must be very okay. There will be no more insecurity in Nigeria. So I'm just begging the government to make sure that the security situation in Nigeria improves by the president trying to make sure that everything is normalized by employing everybody that is competent to be employed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling in, Willie. He said that we can have the much desired peace and security if the federal government is seen to be on the same page with ideas and questions of things like the police, people having police and that kind of a thing. And I think he's going there to the whole matter about local police as opposed to the central kind of a police that we have.
Yeah, I think both the executive arm of government and the legislative arm of government are all working together towards decentralizing the security issues in the country. I know that the police has made a lot of progress coming from community, especially in the area of community policing today, and various legislative houses have also passed resolutions asking for state police. But it's no doubt that we all realize that security is a local issue, and even the police, high command, is not averse to addressing the issues of police on a local basis, and that's why they are supporting the idea of community policing.
away from Kwara, since you've explained that situation, but looking at it nationally now, your party, the ruling party, APC, congresses over the weekend, reports went to encouraging that, if I recall some of those reports, would you like to give me your comment on the national aspect to all of this, where thugs, criminals, miscreants are alleged to have caused trouble up and down the land generally?
Mr. Folarin, I'm a federal minister and I represent the whole of Nigeria, whether you are PDP or you are APC or you are PRP. And I don't need to be appropriate for me to start discussing the issue of my primaries, problems of my party here.
But it is your party, and you are a notable voice in your party. And how will we have you here and you won't give me an impression one way or the other?
We have party executives who have been elected or appointed to be party spokespersons, who are party chieftains, who are party officers. I think it will be better they discuss this issue. I'm not supposed to be partisan, even though I'm a member of the party. As a federal minister, I'm not supposed to be partisan in the charge of my duties, either intra or inter-party.
I guess I'll have to take that, Alhaji. Thank you very much. In fact, in the circumstances, some of the things I wanted to talk about, you've given indications that, well, in as long as I stay national, you're quite ready. But should I begin to come by any of the local roads?
It's just not. I don't think it's appropriate, really
nationally
speaking. I don't think so. For a minister to start talking about his party or the other party, I can talk about the opposition, yes, in very broad terms. I can talk about government in very detailed particulars. But when it comes to intra-party issues, which probably, I'm part of also, I don't think it's proper for me to start talking about it.
Okay. So, but what you were prepared to talk about and have indeed spoken about is the security situation in the country, and your thrust has been that it is much improved.
Oh, no, I think it's much improved.
If people look at it
I think
with dispassionate eyes.
Honestly, with the combination of the improved platforms we have and the various measures being taken, both kinetic and non-kinetic, I think we are getting there.
I want to thank you very much, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister for Information and Culture, for coming. I can only, encourage you to don't make it this long before you come around again. It's been quite a while.
And, Mr. Folarin, I've been virtually. I've also been everywhere. Been to Katsina, I've been to Kebbi, I've been to Maiduguri. So it's not that I don't want to come here. I would wish I can be here every week.
Okay.
But then the house also have some constraints. But I promise you, it won't be as long as this again.
Thank you very much. That's all we ask.
Thank you.
So that's Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister of Information. That's going to be our program for today. So sorry to people that might have wanted to call in but couldn't get through. You can imagine the lines would have been jammed today. But he has just said that he will be back and not with as long an interregnum as has been. So join us tomorrow, please, for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.